This is the bus station in Dubrovnik. There's one of the huge Princess Breeze cruise ship. Mostly southeastern and eastern Europeans, though. The girl who worked in the gambling casino told me we wait for a bus to Pile. Okay, it's my first actual morning in Croatia and Dubrovnik. And it's the only time, plus the evening, to bother being out, either because it's incredibly hot and muggy and literally thousands and thousands of tourists. The room was hotter and muggier inside the room than it is outside in the hallways, and certainly outside where it's cooler, because of that air conditioner. Isn't really an air conditioner. All it's really doing is circulating the ever-increasing muggy air, because three people are breathing in it and exhausting air. And it doesn't work. All it does is circulate and blow into the air around. This is the entrance, or the office, for the what's called a hostel. In reality, it's just a collection of apartments, if you will, and rooms and buildings that have been amalgamated into one group managed by these people. And the strategy of management is do no more maintenance than you have to. Don't do anything intelligent if it costs money, like hook up the air conditioner correctly so it actually works. And probably they have an agreement where they pay the building owner a substantial amount, but the hostel, if you will, is responsible for all repairs, which is their motivation for doing nothing. Their solution to all of this is great glad handing, and slapping on the back and hugging and telling you how wonderful you are, in an attempt to cajole you into not concerning yourself with how bad they are. This is Pile bus stop, if you will, and square, for lack of a better term, where that lady in the black is walking is the Pile entrance. This is very calm right now, and in about 2 or 3 hours it'll be packed with probably 2,000 to 3,000 tourists who stand around dumbly waiting for a bus to show up or sipping coffee or whatever. They have queue lines for the cruise boat to keep the people organized, just literally like you'd herd and control cattle, sending them down a chute. A pretty fountain in the middle of this square, a fountain that does the nice thing that you see in the Balkans, and that is provide drinking water, etc., in these what they call fountains or wells. One of the benefits of tourism for these people is that it creates enough money to restore or build the surrounding area in pretty darn good condition, although there are a great many old homes that have simply been refashioned for sobes or rental rooms. I'll pan the entrance to Pile gate. How authentic this is, I don't know. It looks like it, but it's hard to tell. Certainly, if this is true to its original design, it reflects the importance of Dubrovnik as a powerful trading entity and port. Here, part of the old mechanism for raising and lowering the bridge and the counterbalancing system of weights. I've seen things similar to this. The doors, I'm sure, had nothing to do with the past. I thought I'd explore this little exit way. Now here is some interesting lapidarium, if you will, that look like standards for old lights. That'd be fun to have as antiques in your home or on your deck. These may be siege cannonballs. I don't know. It looks very much like what I saw in Albania. As I suspected, this little runway brings us down to a pretty little park. Particularly at this time of day, people recovering from their night out, sleeping on the benches. Also a little bit of deference to the children who need some place to play. Again, nicely done. We're coming into the another entrance through the main gate into the main area. And looking down through this entryway, we get our first shot of Stradun, which is the main road or street pedestrianized in the main in Dubrovnik. And this is Ornofrio's, if you pronounce it that way, fountain. And it's turned off right now, but what it is just a series of faucets. I will take a closer look. In a few hours they'll turn on Dubrovnik and for the main tourist hordes, and all these will be spouting a little bit of water that you can drink or wash your hands in. It'd be interesting to know what the purpose of that dome structure is, whether it simply houses the infrastructure or does something else material to all of that water being dispensed. This is the Church of Our Saviour. I'll try and go in these later today. This is a museum that you can video the grounds, but you can't video the contents of the museum, so I won't go in it. I think you can video the old pharmacy, so I'll get some shots of that. This is the Franciscan monastery. It also houses one of their museums. And again, I'll check it out to see if you can use video, or if it even interests me. If you can't use video, I won't go in. This looks pretty right now because there's so few people on it, and it looks pretty in the evening when it's lit, and there are also much fewer people. How much of this iconography is new after several earthquakes probably, as well as attacks, etc., etc., I don't know. These side streets sometimes offer an interesting view. One of the things you'll notice is there's almost zero public seating provided. It's assumed and desired that you don't sit down unless you're in a restaurant buying something or walking about buying something in one of the shops. Here that is Old Town Hostel, run and owned by Mike, a young man who was smart enough to come up with a good idea. And he works it 6 months a year and then lets somebody else run it, and he goes traveling. So to orientate where we're going this morning, this is where we enter and come through Pile Gate. These are the two, this is the church and the monastery and the fountain. And we're walking down here. And I'm going to continue to walk down here, hang a right, looking at the most important buildings, get into this little square here, and probably go back and take a look at this area here. And then I'll start spreading out. And eventually this morning, as soon as it opens up, if I can, I want to walk the perimeter of the wall. This attracts our attention because it looks so appealing and so intimate until you walk down through it and realize that it's just another arm of the high intensity of tourism. Certainly there are people who live above there the same as they do in Balboa Island and other super tourist places. So we're now down at the bell tower, and I'm just going to pan through this whole corner square, for lack of a better term. I believe that's Orlando's column there. And my strategy here video-wise is to do a pan like this, talk about what I see, and then silently shoot elements that I can expand if I wanted to put dialogue in the future. This building on the corner left side is the Spanza Palace, which is another way of saying their home. And this Orlando's column seems to be almost brand new. The pedestal appears to be original. Presumably someone used to stand on that little balcony and do something like herald an important moment or something with a stentorian voice. This is St. Blaise Church, B-L-A-I-S-E. Clock tower is interesting, even if it's not original. I don't know if it is or isn't, but that's a clock, so it's interesting. And then it also has what appears to be a clock in visual form showing the sunlight pattern on the earth, which is interesting. Don't know what would normally be in that little window inside that circle. And then below it, an almost digital definition of the date, but that's not correct. This referred to as a small Ornofrio Fountain. You can see that it's turned off right now, but there are the spouts. Here's the view looking back down the Stradun. There on the right you can see the tower of the Franciscan monastery. Now at this intersection, or this corner, I'm going to shift my direction to the lower right. So I'm going from St. Blaise Church, looking down. And this building is apparently the Rector's building. Again, how much of it is new, how much is old, I don't know. There's a tranquil view down a side alley. And this is known simply as the Cathedral. And again, the notables of the Catholic Church. Attempt to take a little bit closer look at the detail up here. Again, How old this is, really, don't know. The tops of each of the columns is a different motif. The vaulting is pretty. What gives us a little bit of authenticity, although it may be false, is that how grimy is the carved work around the door. Cats and dogs that you see roaming about, sitting about calmly, look pretty ratty and dirty as this one does. I think they're basically urban feral cats and dogs. Looking at this window raises a curious question. Why is the upper part of the window so clean and the lower part not? Is it a factor of the material itself? Does it represent a period of restoration or half restoration, including the same dynamic at the bottom? Were these seats authentic or benches authentic? Was it a place for the populace to sit while they were waiting access to the rector's administration? And why the double seats here and the single seats there, and then double seats at the end? Nice ornately carved doorways. You wonder why those hold devices in the corner. You would think it's to hold something like a curtain or something of that nature, or flags, except that they're horizontal holes, not angled upward. And the fixed fittings of the lock are pretty, even though they're probably not very old, since they're designed to accommodate the style of lock used here. Here an earlier key lock with the same design, it looks like. Again, this kind of vaulting is always pretty, even in its simplest form. Here we look at the front of the cathedral. Here a gate leading to the water, which we'll just go out and take a look at what's there. Here's the little marina. Probably for people who live down here, that's a pretty cool thing. If you live here and you enjoy that kind of thing, I don't anymore, to have your boat here and live somewhere in the premises. One thing I always enjoyed about Balboa Island was that there was always something of interest. You could go out and sit in the balcony and just watch the peeps go by. And I assume that that's true today, as cynical as I sound about these huge hordes that disrupt my tranquility. Now I'm looking back from the cathedral back to that corner of Stradun Street down there, the bell tower on the right, and St. Blaise Church on the left. And now we'll hang a left here and go into a courtyard. This is souvenir tourist stuff, although there are some vegetables here and fruits, which is neat to see. A tiny mini market, but mostly it's stuff, perhaps what people have made or had laid locally, although when I looked at it yesterday, it just seemed to be gewgaw trash. So this is Gundulica Square. I'm pronouncing it my way. I presume that's Gundulic. And I'm guessing the church in the background is St. Ignatius Church. It'd be interesting if they had an interpretive sign here in the future. They'll do it all digitally on my iPod. That would give me a brief in English explanation of the anecdote here. My guess is that the man in the middle is keeping the young woman away from the young man to the left on the sprightly horse, and the man on the right, perhaps the girl's father, is quite willing to kill her if in fact this effort is not successful. And I don't know what the real point of this one is, except in my mind what it means is how God justifies in man's mind man's slaughter of other men, a la Richard Harris's poem, Too Many Saviors on My Cross. This is interesting because the interesting portrayal of, I think, St. Mark, the winged lion. And here, I don't know what this symbolizes. I think it's called a griffin. Here comes the fresh stuff. A view from the back of the cathedral. We'll go up there now. Stairs like this are always pretty, a la Rome. I can well imagine a man or a woman or a family that lives here, has a business in town. Maybe their roots go back a long, long ways.